Hey, how's it going? Now, I want to talk about multi-factor authentication, MFA. There's a lot of resistance from management sometimes to implement it, and from your and my perspective, this is like, are these people mentally retarded? What's their problem? The problem is that you're not explaining it in the language that they understand. So let's change that. Here's some ideas. Now, you need to corner these people and say to them, be very careful how you say this, because you're not accusing them, you're explaining what other people are doing. Say something like, the problem is that a lot of business leaders are really naive and they don't realise, you like my frying sausages, by the way, I thought that would be good in the background. Yeah, a lot of business leaders don't realise that cybersecurity is the biggest threat to their organisation. People are really naive and they don't understand that the cost of recovering from a security ransomware incident could be in excess of £250,000, and for a small business it can exceed their annual revenue. Now, you can't just dump this on people, you're going to have to do it in the middle of a conversation, but if you learn that off, just say what I've said, that seems to work, because you've got to start at the top and get buy-in from them and then work your way down. Okay, what about the naysayers that say, I don't want you to install your random software on my personal mobile phone? And there is an argument, I can see, that people don't want to do work on their personal mobile phones, but they wear their own underwear to work. So what the hell? It's not like you've got control of their device. You can't do anything. It's just generating a security key. So you need to explain what's going to happen. So this piece of software, all it's doing is it's producing a code that will help identify who they are. The reason to do that is so we can make sure that other people can't just use your account login. So it means it protects the organisation and protects your job, because the cost of recovering from a ransomware incident can exceed £250,000. So we need to do all we can to keep your business safe. Then always start with the people that are technical savvy, get them to deploy MFA. You really should have done this by now, come on. And then move on to dealing with those people who are less technically savvy. And then finally, for the naysayers to last, because then you can say, look, well, everyone else has got this on their devices. Nobody else is saying that it's a problem. And we need to make sure that the business is kept secure, because cybersecurity is the biggest risk to your organisation. So get it done, get it over the line, get it finished. There's no excuse now, and then we can move on to other stuff. And another thing you can explain to management, by the way, is, hey, a lot of these cybersecurity things, we're going to need to do them for compliance. If you say to me, hey, look, we've got this big contract, but we need to meet this compliance standard, and I'm saying, well, this is going to take me 6 to 12 months to do that, still throwing sausages, it's not realistic. So you need to get in there early and say, hey, there's this compliance coming up, and we're going to need to make sure we meet it, so you can bid for these jobs. I'm going to need your support. Again, you're getting buy-in. Also, say to them, there's a lot of cybersecurity things we can do that cost very little or no money to do and significantly reduce the risk to the business. Never use any acronyms. Don't use MFA, XLR, whatever, MDR, DNS. They don't care. You want to explain about the business risk, okay? I hope this is making sense. So just remember, you're going to say that cybersecurity is the biggest risk to the organisation. A lot of people are very naive and they don't realise what the costs are and the cost implications. There's lots of things you can do to help yourself. If you're doing compliance, or if you're in the compliance industry, we're working with a construction company at the moment, and they're bidding on a contract, needs compliance. That's a good way of getting your foot in the door with it. Be wary of tick box exercises. And I always explain to people, there's two different ways of doing these things. You can just say, yes, we meet the standards. It's like, do the brakes work in your car? Yes, of course they do. It's got a road certificate, whatever, MOT in the UK. Maybe we should actually make sure that the thing that we're doing actually meets the requirements, rather than just say, yes, that's fine. It doesn't make any sense to do that. And the other thing is cyber insurance. Now, all organisations, in my opinion, should have cyber insurance, because it reduces the risk. And you can explain to people when they say, well, what do we do? You say, well, the first thing we should definitely do, because it's really cheap on the grand scheme of things, is get cyber insurance. But they're well asked to meet all these standards. There's all these requirements that they have. and we need to make sure we meet them. Otherwise, if we don't, the insurance won't pay out if there's an incident. Now, you need to explain to the leadership team, and this is another really critical thing, that the insurance is there as a last-ditch measure. It's not the first thing that we do. It's like, oh, we've got insurance for cyber risk. Got rid of the risk. It's not going to happen to us, because the insurance is never going to cover it all off. And what about the reputation? If you get hacked, that's not going to do your reputation any good, is it? So you can explain that to management as well. Make sure they understand the risks in the language they understand. Hope that's of some use. So remember, you're going to say to them, corner these people and say to them from the lead to top down, is that cybersecurity is the biggest risk to your organisation. Cost of recovering could be £250,000 plus. That's for a small organisation. You can go online. If you don't believe that it's the biggest threat to your organisation, Google it. And then you can also say, finally, that there's a lot we can do, and lots of it isn't very expensive to do, and will make a big difference to reducing the risk to the organisation. So I hope that's of some use. Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe to this video, and I'll try to make less background noise on the next video.